Hey guys, I'm Coach Holly with Coach Alex Ho from The Run Experience. Today we are talking ultra running for newbies. What are we going to talk about today?
So we're going to talk about some training tips, how to prepare, what kind of gear you want, maybe some nutrition tips as well.
Awesome, let's get into it.
Right, in order to do an ultra marathon, you really have to want to do it. You shouldn't have anyone telling you should do it. That can help, but you want to really feel it from the inside, from your guts, being like, I want to be out there, I want to run this distance, I want to challenge myself, I want to be with all these other people. So that's a big, important part. You want to learn how to suffer. You're going to have to suffer. And you're going to have to mentally prepare for that and go through these ebbs and flows, being able to go in the pain cave and get back out of it. There really are no prerequisite distances that you have to do. It's good to know how to train for a marathon because once you jump up, it's very similar training. You're just making it a little longer runs. But again, whether you're going from mountaineering or climbing, I've had friends who weren't big runners, but they were climbers, and they've transitioned to ultra marathons because they enjoy the trails and love the challenge, but it's a little bit safer. So again, it's a very internal decision that you have to make for yourself. To prepare for your first ultra marathon, you want to build a big base first. So for me, I like to start about 6 months out, making sure I'm running easy, building a base, getting about 50 miles in a week. That's my personal preference. Some people like more miles, but I want to feel comfortable with 50 miles or so. After I feel comfortable, about 4 months from the race, I'll start adding in the speed work, the hill work, and get a little bit more race specific. And about 2-3 months out, I really get race specific. So if it's super technical, I'll start working on my ankle strength and technical runs. It's a lot of downhill, really building up that quad strength. But usually 6 months out, if you have never run one before, you might want to start a little bit earlier. But 6 months should give you plenty of time as long as you're consistent. Well, a typical week of training, for me, I usually try and run almost every day. I'll listen to my body, take my rest days when I need to, but I'll add in 1 day of more speed work that's a little bit flatter, 1 day of more hill work or tempos on the hills, and then usually 2 days of long run. So one really long run, and then a day either before or after that. That's a little shorter, but you're getting that back-to-back days, so you're running on tired legs. That might include some hiking, some power hiking, but you're running a little bit slower, just getting used to being out there. And then also adding in some strength work. I do 1 to 2 days of strength work with weights or with TRX, body weight exercises, just to keep your body strong. Try not to get too much of runner's arms like I have. So my weekday nutrition while I'm training, as you put in more miles, you're going to get a lot more hungry. So usually I start off with the homemade granola that I make. It's pretty healthy. I know what they put in. I know what I put in it. It's good. And then that takes me through most of the morning. If I get hungry in the morning, I'll have like an apple or some, fruits or vegetables as a snack. My lunchtime usually includes a salad with some type of protein. So I'm still eating relatively healthy, not many processed foods. And then my midday snacks usually include like tortilla chips. That might be post-run, something that I really just enjoy. Usually if you're running a lot, you're losing a lot of salt, so I like the salty foods. And then for dinners, I try and get some good sources of protein, whether it's chicken. I like pasta a lot, so I eat a lot of pasta, carbs. And it's a very personal thing, but you got to figure out what works for your stomach, what works for your nutrition-wise. And if you're allergic to something, obviously don't eat it. But I can luckily eat everything, so I try and do. So when you go into ultra running training, you're getting a lot longer runs, so you're going to be out there for a long time. It's really important because you're on the trails that you bring enough hydration and nutrition while you're out on those long runs. So some of the things I like, my favorite thing that I train and race with is the naked band here. So it just goes around the waist. It sits pretty tight, and then I can carry these soft flasks in it. So it's got pretty much all around pockets. I carry the soft flask, fill them up with water. It doesn't bounce while I run, which is why I love it. It feels real tight and it kind of disappears. Some other people like the vests here that you can get. For me, when it's a little hotter out, my back gets really hot, so the vest gets really hot, but it's a good way to keep the nutrition and hydration right on your chest. Again, like the soft flasks are really popular for both of these. And then for eating wise, you got to figure out what works for you. You know, I personally love the Goose. I love the taste and they settle with my stomach fine. So I know people that don't. So if these don't work for you, don't use them, but you figure it out in training and figure out what kind you like. Another trick of mine is also keeping the caffeinated ones for the second half of your long runs or for your training runs or even the race. I don't drink a lot of caffeine. It really affects me. So when I have it, it sends me off going, gives me that extra boost. And then the last one is the staple handheld bottle. You know, running with it, you can find a ton of these, but it just stays nice and tight on your hands. It's quick drinking. It reminds you to keep drinking while you're running. So really important. This is what I usually use for my longer runs or my longer races. All right, so shoes. My main shoe for trails, I love the Nike Wild Horse here. It's a good stable shoe. It's got a rock plate, so for the more technical trails, it's gonna be great. You know, you're not gonna get those rocks jammed up. It's also got a lot of cushion. It's very responsive. It's a shoe that really works for me. It's got a little wider toe box. So it really works for me. I really love it. You know, some people don't. You really have to find the shoe that's right for you, but this one has a lot of grip on the trails. When I'm doing my faster speed work stuff, I'll use more of a road shoe, so I won't use the trail shoe all the time, but I'll find more of a road shoe that's a little bit lighter, a little bit more responsive, and really I can just go haul ass on it. It's a lot of fun on the roads, but you gotta find what, again, works for you. I've experimented with almost every shoe out there, and I switch them up pretty often, actually. But when you find one that works, keep it. So while you're training, you know, you're gonna be putting a lot of miles on your feet and on your shoes. So it's a good idea to kind of rotate through them, maybe buy a couple pair. Find what pair you wanna use on race day, and you wanna put miles on those, but not a ton, so that on race day, you still have that cushion, that responsiveness in them. And then when it's time to get a new pair of shoes, you'll know, like your feet will start hitting the ground a little bit harder. You might look at the tread and the tread's really worn out. Or one of the tricks I like to do is look at the foam, and if the foam looks really crushed on all the sides, you see all the creases down, that's usually a time like the foam is given out and it's not gonna give you as much cushion, so it might be time to get a new pair of shoes. Training for an ultra marathon takes a long time, especially the 100 milers. You're gonna be out there for a long time. So a couple things you have to deal with are injuries are always a concern. You know, taking care of your body is super important. You have to listen to your body, figure out if it's gonna be like, if it's a sharp pain, then maybe you need to take a few days off, and if it lasts for longer than a week or so, you might wanna see a specialist. If it's like just sore muscles, you might just need to work through that. So figuring out what is good, what is bad, you know, dealing with some pain is very common with these. And also dealing with motivation. You're training for 6 or more months, your motivation might not be there because the race is so far away. You might start off really gung-ho about it, want to go out and just hammer every single run, but that motivation can disappear pretty quick when you have to go out for 4 or 5, 6 hour runs and then another 2 or 3 hour run the next day. So finding that motivation, figuring out what keeps you going is very important. So with these training runs, you're gonna run into a lot of different issues, and it's a good thing. They're training runs for a reason. So you might go out and you might bonk on one of your long runs, which is one of my favorite things when I bonk on a training run because I know what it feels like. I try and figure out what caused it, whether it was, you know, super hot, whether I didn't bring enough water, whether I didn't bring enough nutrition. So that's what you're figuring out, working through. So on race day, when you encounter that problem, you can be like, oh, wow, it's hotter than I usually run. This is what I need to do, is cool down, find some shade. Or I just need to drink more water. So it's a really good idea to experience that during training. You know, you can get lost during your run, so making sure you know where you are. If you go out for a 16-mile run and it ends up being a 22-mile run, that happens sometimes because you take a wrong trail. So learning to mentally push through that is very important for race day for these ultra marathons, because there are going to be points when you're thinking you're closer than you really are, and you're going to have to push a little bit further. If you're going to get into ultra running, my biggest thing is find a community, find some people. That's what I love about the sport, is it really is such a tight-knit community that welcomes everyone from all different abilities in. It encourages people to go further, go farther, go faster. But it also, I'll go out on runs with friends that will just be like, hey, let's go for 3 hours and hang out and chat, and we'll laugh the whole time. And so that's the great thing about the sport. You know, go find someone, you'll meet a lot of great people and a lot of very inspirational people. Go volunteer at a race. You know, these races are long, they're tough. The volunteers are a huge part of it, and they make all the difference in the world when you go into an aid station and find someone who's happy and helps you out and feels like you're getting pampered, and you can leave an aid station feeling 100% different. So enjoy the sport, take care of the trails, and go explore. I use it as an excuse to travel. So go France, go to Spain, go to the Dolomites, go somewhere fun. Use it as an excuse and enjoy it. All right, if you like this video, hit that like button down below, or if you have any comments or questions, shoot them down below and we'll answer them.
And if you guys are interested in learning more about Alex or getting more personalized training from him, click the link down in the description to check all of his awesome stuff out. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We have brand new videos coming out for beginners all the way up through ultra runners, nutrition tips, strength training, all that good stuff, and we want you guys to see them. Otherwise, we will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.